Hello, my name is Anuska and welcome to my channel. And on today's video, I'm going to be talking all about the lips and why they're so important for clear, powerful and effortless speech. Now, you may have never really given your lips that much thought before in terms of speech and your voice, but they can hold an enormous amount of tension. And the lips are a lot more than just your lipstick lips. There's a lot more going on into the cheeks. So we are going to look at that later in the video and look at some of the muscles we're talking about. But they hold a lot of tension which can really impact the voice and really restrict the larynx or the voice box. But also we want the lips to be moving for clear and powerful articulation. And as you're going to see in this video, there are certain sounds that we make, consonants and vowels in the English language, which do require intentional lip movement. Lips are also really important for us to find that optimal vocal resonance, meaning that ability to really naturally amplify the voice, so a natural projection without having to push or strain. And finally, the lips and the cheeks are obviously part of our facial expression. So if we're standing on a stage, a metaphorical stage here, not literally a stage, we want our face to come alive, there to be energy, there to be an engagement when we're speaking. So we want that kind of movement in the face to really be a much more impactful speaker. It's been interesting for me during lockdown with people wearing masks, because I have found it a lot harder to connect and communicate with people. We really do rely on being able to see facial expressions and lip movement to really communicate fully. So firstly, why do people hold tension in their lips and their cheeks? So I'm just going to share some ideas that are things that I've really thought about. Firstly, you may have heard the expression stiff upper lip, and it's often associated with the British. And it's this idea really that the face is almost sort of frozen and we don't want to show any emotion. So often the upper lip will kind of get very tense when we're trying to hold back tears or we're trying to hold back emotion, because for whatever reason, maybe we're in a situation where it's not appropriate, or maybe we've just been conditioned and taught that it's not acceptable to cry, it's not acceptable to be upset, it's not acceptable to share difficult emotions. So we learn this from a young age, and then we obviously take this into our adulthood. And then we may wonder then as we get older, why does my lip not want to move? So, you know, it's always worth exploring this. But that's the first idea. It's really a way of us protecting ourselves from sharing emotion. Now, the next one is interesting because I have experienced this myself, is hiding bad teeth. Now, I, a few years ago, had braces fitted, and as an adult, it's less common. I mean, they have those Invisaligns now where you can't see them, but I had the train track braces that you could see. And I felt incredibly self-conscious as an adult wearing train tracks. And I remember very, very, very vividly not wanting to show my teeth and trying to keep my lips closed as much as possible. And so I'm sure there's people out there that maybe don't like their teeth, and maybe they're not conscious of this. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I was very aware, but I think that's also because I'm a singer and I'm used to moving my lips and everything, and suddenly I didn't want to. So again, if you're someone, just notice, does that resonate for you? Do you think, oh, I don't like my teeth, so I don't want to move my lips? It sounds kind of crazy, but as I say, I've personally experienced this myself, so I just wanted to share that. And finally, this idea of mumbling. So when we mumble, the lips don't really move. Often also the jaw doesn't really move either. And we're really holding back the voice. We're holding back our thoughts, our feelings, even emotions, like we were talking about with the stiff upper lip. And again, it's this idea of protecting ourselves from really sharing our deepest, darkest thoughts and feelings. And what tends to happen then is the tongue has to take over with the articulation. For many of us, the tongue is very tense. So we end up mumbling because we don't have enough kind of dynamic movement in the tongue. The jaw and the lips aren't moving, so everything just becomes kind of muffled and mumbled. So just some things to pay attention to. If you notice that your lips don't move, do any of those ring any truth for you? Now, I've already kind of mentioned these briefly, but why is lip movement so important for optimal speech? So I'm just going to go into a little bit more depth here before I talk a bit more about the musculature that we're dealing with. So first of all, improved resonance. Now, when we move our lips to articulate, we are actually lengthening the vocal tract. And the longer the vocal tract, the deeper, the richer, the more colour, the more powerful the voice is. And also the pitch often lowers as a consequence of this. Versus actually when we do the opposite and we pull the lips back, we are shortening the vocal tract, and so we tend to have a higher pitch in the voice. The voice doesn't have as much space, so it can often sound a bit more squeezed and tight and tense. So it can really make a massive difference in terms of the ease and the power in our voice when we start to be more intentional with moving our lips. And you can try this right now. Try saying something while really moving your lips, and then say something while really pulling your lips back. It's very, very hard to get any kind of power, depth, any kind of richness in the voice. Also, when we bring the lips forward, we are really taking away the pressure from the throat. So again, that's going to help. We're bringing the sound forward, we're getting it away from the back of the throat. So it's really helping it to be propelled forward, which of course is what we want for speech. We don't want it being pulled back into our throat. Just as another point there, in terms of pitch, sometimes when particularly women feel like their pitch is too high and they want to lower their pitch, sometimes, and not all the time, but actually just being more intentional with your lips, as I say, will bring a sort of a natural depth and richness to the voice. So it's worth trying that, because in my experience, the pitch is not normally the issue. It's normally other things that are contributing to that higher perceived pitch. So one thing you can try is just to bring a lot more deliberate, intentional movement with your lips. Also, again, I talked about this one too. So articulation of vowels and consonants. Now, there are certain vowels and consonants in the English language that require intentional lip movement. You can get away with not moving your lips and saying them, but it makes a drastic difference to the output when you do move your lips. So as some examples, and I will put them in the description box so you can go through this. So for example, both lips are required to say the consonants B or B, P or P, and M or M. However, I could say B, M, P and not really move my lips that much. But when I go B, P and M, you can hear, hopefully, there's a lot more going on in my voice. It's richer, it's deeper. There's just a lot more resonance in my voice. Consonants also, such as an F, a F, and a V, a V, and a W, W. They all require lip movement. Now the F and the V only require the bottom lip, v, f, v, whereas the W requires that rounding of the whole lip, W. So these all, you can, again, you can say W and not really move your lips, but you can hear instantly the voice changes when you move your lips. Vowels, including oo, o, or, really, again, the more you move your lips, the more resonant the voice is. We're going to look at those shortly in the exercises at the end, but just to sort of give you an idea that consonants and vowels, there are some that we know really do need a bit more intentional lip movement. And then also, as I mentioned before, about facial expression. If you're someone that does a lot of speaking on video or in front of an audience, it's going to be much more enjoyable for your audience if there's some energy, some brightness, some animation in your face when you're speaking, versus if your face just doesn't move. So again, you can practice this in the mirror and just notice the difference, but notice the difference also to the tone of your voice when your face is more animated. Now, just as a word of caution as well, you can go too far the other way and be over animated. And I sometimes think people do that to sort of compensate. Again, that can come across as a bit insincere when we're really over the top and it's all sort of super exciting. It's finding something that feels right for you where you know that there is an engagement in the face, because it's going to make a big difference to your voice if nothing else. So the muscles of the lips, now they've got some really cool names, and I hope I'm actually pronouncing these correctly. So I hope that I'm not butchering the pronunciation, but I'm going to give it a red hot go. So the first one is the orbicularis oris. I'm going to write it on my video right now so you can have a look. Now, I'm just going to keep this simple. This is basically the muscle that literally wraps around the lips. So it's kind of like a band of muscle that goes around the lips like that. Now, this is a really, really important muscle. It's generally underutilized in most people, and this is the muscle that is used for rounding. So oohs, ohs, ahs, b, p. It's that muscle that really moves the lips forward and rounds the lips. So we are going to do an exercise in a bit to help with that muscle. As I say, you can not round your lips, but it makes a drastic difference when you do. So one has much more depth and a richer tone to it when we round our lips, ooh versus ooh. And when I do that, when I don't round my lips, it tends to pull the sound back into my throat. And that's what I feel as well as hear. And again, as I mentioned, when we don't move the lips, the tongue then has to basically do most of the work. The tongue in most people is quite tense, and the tongue is connected to the larynx, so it's all like a domino effect. So we end up kind of creating tension in the voice as well. So we just want, really what we're aiming for is everything's kind of working together versus one articulator is doing all the work, because we need them all for different reasons. So the next muscle is called the zygomaticus major. I do love that name, it's very cool. And so the zygomaticus major, very simply, is the smiling muscles. And these tend to be overactive in people. So again, this is part of that kind of lip spreading, pulling the lips back, which again, as I said earlier, is shortening the vocal tract. So again, there's nothing wrong with smiling at all, but it's just making sure that you're not sort of creating too much tension through those muscles if they're overly used. Also for vowels like an E, we can often pull back and utilize those muscles. Now, the other zygomaticus muscle is called zygomaticus minor, and you can think of this as, well, I've kind of called it the sadness muscles. So it's the muscles when we're sad. And we're not really going to look too much at those. The main muscles we're going to look at in the exercises are the ones around our lips and the smile muscles. But I'm just telling you the main ones so that you're aware, and also because I think they've got really cool names. And then the final muscle is called the buccinator. And this is essentially to draw the cheeks in, which is also it can be part of lip rounding depending on what you're saying. So it's really these muscles that draw the cheeks in. So let's now look at some lip stretches and strengthening and release work for the lips. And actually this will be a really interesting gauge for you to see whether indeed your lips do hold a lot of tension or whether they're actually pretty relaxed. So first of all, if you haven't already sort of sat in front of a mirror and talked, and looked at what your lips are doing, I'm just going to give you a few words to say. Look at yourself, whether it's into a video on Zoom or if it's in front of a mirror, and just watch what your lips do. Now, I don't want you to kind of try and do anything here. I want you to just be as natural as you can. If you weren't watching a video about lip movement, how would you say these words? So I will post these words up now on the screen, but the words are woo, woo, food, bought, potent, mow, vortex. It's the only word I can think of. It's a bit random, I know. So that was woo, food, bought, potent, mow, vortex. Just say them and watch what your lips do or don't do. And hopefully that will give you an idea of where you are in terms of how engaged your lips are. So now we're going to get the lips moving. Now I'm going to demonstrate these slowly, but the idea with these is you do these as fast as you can while still being very focused and intentional with the lip movement. So you're going to go ooh, ee, ooh, ee, ooh, ee. And then, as I say, see if you can move your lips as quickly as possible. So obviously we're engaging these muscles here too. Ooh, ee, ooh, ee, ooh, ee, ooh, ee, ooh, ee. Then I'd like you to do or, e, like saw. Or, e, or, e, or, e, or, e. Maybe try these sort of 10 times, but as I say, as quickly as you can, as long as it's intelligible what you're saying. Then O-E, O-E, like show. O-E, 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 O-E. And again, as quickly as you can. Just notice what happens. And do you find it quite tiring as well? Because that could also be a sign that these muscles are not used to working, particularly around the lips. Then, as we mentioned, some of the consonants are consonants that really do require lip movement. So B, B, W, W, M, M, P, P. So again, what we're trying to do eventually is do these as fast as possible while keeping that clear, intentional articulation going. So if it starts to get mushy, slow down. But what you want to do here is a soft, rounded lip. So you're not going ba, it's more of a ba. Almost like, I call it a fish face when I talk to my clients about this. So ba, wa, ma, pa, ba, wa, ma, pa, ba, wa, ma, pa. And just see if you can get those lips softly forward versus ba, pa, wa, which can be quite aggressive. So we're keeping it kind of soft and forward. And then we've got a bit of a articulation challenge. So you're going to say wibble wobble as quickly as you can. Again, moving the lips, being very intentional with the articulation with the lips. Wibble wobble, 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 wibble wobble. And again, the B and the W, as we know, are very important for lip movement. So start slow, speed up. But again, the goal of this is not to just say it as quickly as possible, but the speech is mushy, but to keep the clarity in the voice. And then we're really getting a bit of movement and a bit of agility and flexibility through those lip muscles. Now then, for the next exercise, you're going to need a pen or something, pencil, pen will do, something of this kind of shape. And what I want you to do is put it between your back teeth, but not clench the jaw, just gently hold it between your back teeth. I'll have to take it out just so I can demonstrate, so I can tell you a bit more clearly about what we're going to do. And then you can grab a sentence or a paragraph from a book. I'm just going to use a very simple example, my name, where I live, not my address, but roughly where I live. And I'm just going to demonstrate on that, but you can do this with anything you like. You can get a paragraph from a book or a magazine or a presentation. And it's this really, truly fantastic exercise for developing the movement in the lips. Because what we're doing with this, by putting the pen between the back teeth, is we're taking the jaw out of the equation, and we can then put our attention more into our lips. Also, do as much as possible, keep the tongue moving, but for this particular exercise, I want you to focus more on the lips. So, my name is Anushka. My name is Anushka. I live in London. Then you can try it on the other side. My name is Anushka. I live in London. The idea with this is you want the lips to move, because you could do this without moving the lips. My name is Anushka and I live in London, which isn't the point of the exercise. So we're moving the lips despite the jaw being held in place. Then take the pen out, say the same sentence. My name is Anushka and I live in London. And notice what a difference it makes to your voice, because you've really isolated the lips and now they're a little bit more primed, they're a little bit more used to moving, and suddenly, and I notice it in myself, even though I do this stuff all the time, that the voice just feels freer, it sounds freer, it sounds just clearer and more powerful. So again, I often say to clients, you know, you can practice presentations with a pen in your mouth and just really over articulate it. This is about over exaggerating and over articulating. You do need to really move the lips, otherwise it's not going to work. So I hope this really helped, and I would love to know how you get on with all of this. So please do post below any comments or thoughts or any of your own experiences. But I honestly think that if you do really start to be much more intentional with your lips, without overdoing it, it will make a huge difference to your voice, the tone, and most importantly, how it feels. So until next time, I will see you on my next video.